Good morning, and welcome to a brand new day. I'm Reverend Liz Lerner-McClay, and on behalf also of Roger Peltier, our worship associate Catherine Jameson, and music director Fred Jodry, and also this morning's particular companions, Faith, Justice, and Hope. I welcome you to our worship this morning, and to the First Unitarian Church in Providence, where we love beyond belief. These days are full of so much. Thank goodness we have this church, this faith, and each other to help us hold and respond to it all. This is the day we have been given. May we make the very most of it, starting right now together.
Good morning. My name is Melissa Gillette. For those of you at home, we invite you to light your chalice with us and join in the words that we say every Sunday morning together. This light burns also in our hearts, and it lights our path towards harmony and justice and hope for all.
Our invocation today is adapted from the writing of the Reverend Anna Bladel. Blessed are we all when we stay tender. Blessed are we all when we stay fierce. Blessed are we all when we dare to imagine repair and transformation. Blessed are we all when we labor together to make it so. And now we have one of my favorite hymns to sing, What a Perfect Thing for this morning. I hope you enjoy it. Wake now, my senses. Can we join our voices together from across our homes?
Wake now, my senses, and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being in all. Keep with the web of creation your vow, giving, receiving as love shows us how. Wake now, my reason, reach out to the new. Join with each pilgrim who quests for the true. Honor the beauty and wisdom of time. Suffer thy limit and praise the sublime. Wake now, compassion, give heed to the cry. Voices of suffering fill the wide sky. Take as your neighbor both stranger and friend, praying and striving their hardship to end. Wake now, my conscience, with justice thy guide. Join with all people whose rights are denied. Take not for granted a privileged place. God's love embraces the whole human race. Wake now, my vision of ministry clear. Brighten my pathway with radiance here. Mingle my calling with all who will share. Work towards a planet transformed by our care.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Catherine Jameson, and I will be reading Pulse by Marnie Harmony. Is there any emotion that has not been felt this week? Rage, sadness, despair, grief, terror, guilt, shame, grace, peace. Our hearts are splayed open, one moment constricted in anguish, the next brimful of love and care and hope. Are there any words that have not been said? Any prayers that have not reached the listening heart of all that is holy and good and true? We seek the light that must come in. Yes, the light that is within each of us, but please, some more of that great Big Bang light. Enough light to create a new consciousness that has no room for hatred and violence. Compelled by a rational power that is relentless in its determination to break through the boundaries and boxes that separate us, knowing that ultimately we drink from a common cup. We gather this day to be strengthened and nourished for the week and work ahead, to be embraced by the spirit of healing, to kindle the deep hope that pulses on through pain and uncertainty. We are in this together. May our spiritual wells be filled by the deepest springs of compassion and understanding. Deepen us, comfort us. Feel our pulse as we breathe in peace and breathe out love.
As we breathe in peace and breathe out love, a good practice I commend to us all this week. Let us begin the sharing of our joys and sorrows. A candle of joy on the birth of my new granddaughter, Ruby Teresa Rosenbaum. She was born on Friday, and Claire says, "Welcome, baby Ruth, to the world." A candle of sorrow and of healing for the COVID outbreak at the Wyatt Detention Center, where 18% of people being detained had active infections as of last week anyway. A candle of sorrow that the young husband of a friend and colleague died tragically over the last weekend, leaving behind my friend and their two very young children. My friends, in these times of joy and of sorrow, in these days indeed, let us rest in the gladness that we have each other to share our joys and our sorrows. Indeed, it makes all the difference. Amen. I'd like to invite us now into the space of prayer and meditation. After I share some original words, we're going to hold a time of silence. And if you've lost someone in the past year and you want to stand with us to hold them in your hearts as we hold each other in silence, I invite you to do so that we can honor your losses. Spirit of life and spirit of transformation, we have endured the dark night of the soul of our nation, and now we've arrived at a conclusion, a decision. We are celebrating a return of confidence and leadership. We are hopeful. Truth and trust have won the day. We are grateful to be on the winning side. Our hearts quicken with joy. And therein lies the struggle. We are quick to blame, quick to other, quick to dismiss. Living as we have in what seemed like a fight for our very own souls has helped betray deep core tenets of our faith. That all people share worth and dignity. That our lives are indivisible, no matter our politics or our party. Indeed, while the election churned our thoughts toward division and derision, we have been living in a pandemic that is worldwide, that is human-wide, an illness that continues acutely teaching us that we are indeed all interconnected. We are one people, and one United States. There is much brokenness in our country and our lives. Our oneness seemingly shattered in pieces on the floor. Our work is to clear the shards of venom and vitriol without pricking ourselves or others. Beloved Spirit, dear God, Help us to restore, rebuild, revitalize our shared lives. Show us the way to reconciliation, to making our country stronger by healing our divisions. Show us the way toward making our faith stronger by bringing equity and justice to our hearts, making us kinder humans being. Teach us that there is no other, that diversity and difference are not separation, that they only make our lives more fulfilled, the pattern more interesting. Spirit of life and love, dear God of transformation, let us endeavor to live, making these words true. Amen.
I hardly know what to say right now. I don't know about you, but I have gotten so used to being dug in, to turning immediately to what will hearten us all, to bear or resist or overcome the latest depredation or humiliation or desecration of all that we hold sacred by the current administration. It has been so long, so many years that have felt like decades. If you are like me, then you have girded your soul for survival and battle so many times. It is a lot of swaddling to take off. I have so many spiritual layers girding me. If you could see them, I would look like a mummy. To be honest, it's going to take a while to get this all off me. It's almost become part of me. But I have to get it off. Because while all these layers have provided insulation and even structural support countless times, it's got its downside. I can see fine, I think, through all these layers, but I can't feel as well as I'd like to. Too many layers between me and the world. And I can move all right. You can move forward with a good, strong, and determined gait, I have found, but you can't dance. It limits joyous expression, which matters when joy comes back. Because let's face it, even if I could pull off a dance, it would not be a good one, and I would look ridiculous. So it is time to begin to peel off the layers. Maybe not all of them, but a lot of them. To lose some of the insulation, because it is important right now to feel everything and what it's like, to let in everything, to hear the flood of language that is reasonable and thoughtful and credible, to pay attention now to the impact of federal principles that will align with those of our own faith, to the power of an environmental protection agency that follows science and works together with the National Weather Service to retard and counter climate change, to the restoration of the Center for Disease Control in the middle of this once-in-a-century pandemic, to watch for the release of asylum seekers from detention, and for the reunion of children and parents, and hopefully support for those families who we know will be forever traumatized by what the current administration has put them through. Watch for a Justice Department committed again to fighting racism and institutionalized oppression in ways that will matter. Watch for the return to treaties with longtime allies. Watch for the reunion with progressive governments who care about human rights. Watch for global work to support the welfare of all people. Watch for the protection of long-time natural habitats and essential sanctuaries for wildlife and for sea life. Watch for progressive environmental policies in space to make sure that space remains protected and operable for all. And watch for things that we have never seen before. Watch for them. Because doing what has never been done before is hardest. And we can probably help in ways that we are going to discover. Watch for the work of the first vice president ever to be a woman or a person of color. Watch for the work of her. Watch for her as she presumably holds the presidential nomination for her party 4 years from now. Watch for an administration that has run on a platform of Black Lives Mattering to hold law enforcement accountable in new ways. Watch for our sanctuary space here in our congregation perhaps to be used again now that there can be a way forward for undocumented immigrants or asylum seekers. Watch for the end of that wall between us and Mexico. The end of detention centers filled with good people seeking a future. The end of flight bans that demonize Muslims and divide those in this country from their husbands and wives, their families and friends. And look for what we can do as we work our way back from the fascist, racist, sexist, nationalist, vote-suppressing, truth-suppressing, people-suppressing, future-suppressing precipice that we have been walking right along the edge of. I don't doubt that there will be so much for us to pay attention to and do going forward. So much more in partnership with the principles and actions of our government, but some of it will still be resistance and opposition, as has always been the case, as it was most recently during the Obama administration. And of course, it's not over. No matter what the margin of victory, it would not just be over. From its inception, our nation has embraced or struggled with the curses of racism and sexism and nationalism and ignorance and prejudice and deception, and sometimes our nation has fed those all and harnessed them to sow a terrible harvest. And sometimes we have starved them and worked to end their existence among us. But lately, they have been fed raw meat every day, and it shows. My Friend and former U.S. Congressman Jamie Raskin traditionally closes Election Day with a haiku. I know, a congressman who writes an Election Day haiku. How much do you gotta love that? And it reminds us of what can be great about our representatives in government. This year, he wrote, "Don't ever again say it can't happen here. Say, we won't let it." The larger direction of our way forward is clear, but the details of that direction are not. And those steps will not all be found by a president or an administration or an entire government. And finding them, those steps that are actually effective, is what will, I believe, be hardest. I don't want to get in an argument about those who support the current president, who either don't see or don't care about the lies and waste and destruction that spew from his mouth every time he opens it. What I want to say about the way forward is that those of us who see a way forward, who understand that we cannot go back in time, and that going back would be pretty bad for so many of us, that even where we're at is still pretty bad for a lot of us, that we have to change and evolve to build the world of justice and freedom that Americans have dreamed and proclaimed for so long and still haven't realized. Those of us who believe in all this have got to find a different way to bring all those who feel shut out of that future into the dream, into that proclamation, into the America that really is for everyone, the America that believes in everyone, the America that has plenty for everyone. When you are learning as a ministerial student to preach, part of what you learn is how to put your message across as strongly as possible, which does not always mean as passionately as possible. Because what really makes a message strong is not how strongly you yourself feel it as you share it, but how many people embrace it when they hear it. It is the job of the preacher to put the message across in a way that gives it its best possible chance. And this can be especially challenging in Unitarian Universalist congregations, where we know there is a huge range of theology and philosophy and identity to span, not unlike the United States of America, come to think of it. But just as in our congregations, it is not the job of people who can't see themselves in the vision to subscribe to it anyway. It is the job of those of us who have the vision to proclaim it in ways that others can perceive and embrace. If I preach a message that I think is the bomb and most of you love it, it's fine if a few don't. One can truly never please everyone all the time. But if half of you hate it and are repelled by it, that's on me. Either something is wrong with my vision or something is wrong with my preaching. And either way, I need to fix it. But telling you you are the problem and you need to get with the program is never going to bring you in. You see what I'm saying? Which means we have to find another way. Because yes, there is a lot of anger and repulsion in the system on both sides right now. I have been furiously angry, and I am sure I will be furiously angry again. Angry, frustrated, astonished, disbelieving, hurt, sometimes afraid. This election was a very close thing, despite what so many did to galvanize the progressive vote and broadcast progressive messages, gerrymandered districts and restricting polls in areas with progressive leanings, and misinformation surely made an impact, and it was so close. Without the work of so many voting rights activists and supporters, we would be right now over that precipice and crashing down another 4 years, the results of which I cannot even begin to imagine. Maybe the end of our democracy, maybe a revolution, maybe the end of our country. I don't know. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. We will now never know. But what we have to know is that while we have a right to be angry, and though we draw strength from that anger, dwelling in anger forever will not heal this country, will not ultimately make it stronger, will not position progressive values better 4 years from now. And anger is not the only way we can be strong. Letting go of anger does not mean losing our allegiance to all that matters most to us. In his autobiography, the South African freedom fighter and eventual president, Nelson Mandela, wrote about the moment when he finally left his cell, left the prison system that stole and wasted decades of his life. The prison he left as an old man, expected to live only a few more years, if that. So much he had lost, never to regain. So many friends and comrades had been killed. So much he had suffered. So much his people had suffered. I remember how no one knew what was going to happen in South Africa. Many people predicted a bloodbath, and many people justified it. But the bloodbath did not happen, in large part because of Nelson Mandela. About that moment, when he was finally walking back into life with crucial choices right before him, and a lot of people who wanted and expected him to lead a violent and justifiable insurrection, he wrote this: "As I walked out the door toward the gate that would lead to my freedom, I knew if I didn't leave my bitterness and hatred behind, I would still be in prison." That is what made Nelson Mandela an inspiration for the ages. Exactly that insight, exactly that choice to build rather than break, his extraordinary willingness to invite white South Africa to that very table that they had denied him and millions of his people for so long. And South Africa has been finding its way forward, which has not been perfect, not been blameless, but has created revolutionary understandings and processes, including deep explorations and discoveries regarding restorative justice, from which all the world is learning. President Mandela also said, "Minds that seek revenge destroy states, while those that seek reconciliation build nations." how clearly the vengefulness of our current U.S. president shows how right President Mandela was. So there is work for us to do. How will we help to find and share a path forward that we have so far failed to find and share? A way that brings many more people along, people who are currently, as President-elect Biden has said, opponents, but not enemies. And as I have been saying a lot this past month and more, reconciliation requires that people be listened to, be heard. Now, some folks in our country relish white supremacy and all the ugliness that goes with it, and they need a hard reset, which is a monumental task. But many others in the Rust Belt and elsewhere vote for the current president because they feel they are treated with contempt. And often they are right. And relegated to the past, and often this is true. So of course a message that hearkens to past greatness speaks to them. Think what it must be like to feel like that for yourself, for your family, and your town, and your region. And frankly, we on the other side have not done much to connect better or widen our circle, to start with listening rather than lecturing, to make our message one that doesn't affirm anyone at the expense of someone else. Oh, this persistent othering, this constant diminishing of someone else that is at the root of so much devilry and persecution. It has been a hallmark of the current presidency. It has got to go. So much we have to do, especially finding those paths to inclusion and reconciliation that have so far proved elusive. We are not good at this. We're not great at welcoming those we want to welcome, even. And we are not great at respecting those we don't understand. It is important, faithful effort that we have ahead of us. I am absolutely certain that we will not get it all done, that we will not find all the paths. But I am also absolutely certain that we can get some of it done, that we can find some of the paths, staying strong for our principles and listening and building bridges at the same time. I am looking for those paths, those opportunities, those bridges all the time, as are many in our congregation. This has to be part of our highest work as a faith, as a church, as an agent for goodness in this moment in our nation. It is not just other folks who need to learn and change. We all have learning and changing to do. Even just trying, really trying, will shift something, will offer connections and insights into this woe-ya-ya era when so much hangs in the balance. That's right, I said woe-ya-ya. Think about it. It totally applies. Woe-ya-ya, which means we are going. In a song written by a Ghanaian drummer, Saul Amarifo, I met him once some years ago. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Woe-ya-ya, oh, woe-ya-ya, woe-ya-ya, oh, woe-ya-ya. 'Ya, ya, 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 We want our union to be united, just, generous, strong, courageous, democratic, and free for everyone. We want our nation to partner with each of us to make our communities and our world better and stronger and sustainable. We don't just want this, we can't accept less. Sorry, we will not accept yes. So yes, that is a tall order, and these days are full of tumult and promise, really full of tumult and promise. But they are our days, and we have helped to shape them, and we will keep helping to shape that. It is what Unitarian Universalists have always done. It's what we always do. Like that old Unitarian covenant confirms, love is the doctrine of this church, the quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. And right now, today, tomorrow, as our faith and all religions remind us, it is also not right to focus only on all that, to ignore renewal and hope and relief and exhilaration. Progressive faith in action has so much to celebrate right now, a win which so many of you helped make possible. There is nothing more important right now than to affirm and safeguard and celebrate this great good. If you were here in this space with me now, I would ask you to sing with me. But you're there at home, so yeah, I'm going to ask you to sing with me anyway. It can't just be work, work, work all the time. So get yourself up. I'm up. Get up. At least raise your arms and join in this Emma's Revolution song. Or just clap, whatever works. You do you, as long as you unwind some of your own protective functional layers just a little bit and join me in gladness. Because our nation is going to keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Never turning back. Never turning back. We're going to keep on moving proudly. Keep on singing loudly. Keep on loving boldly. Never turning back. Never turning back. One more time with me. Never turning back. Never turning back. Amen. This is our opportunity to give to the work of this church. If you have ever wondered about the difference we can make, you have seen it affirmed again. Thousands and thousands of cards went out to people all over this country from members of this congregation to urge them to the things that our faith believes in. So many people did phone banks, so many people shared strength and resources to get us through these years and this election process. And now I know so many are celebrating Socially distanced but electronically connected, there are so many ways we are bound together by this faith community, by the principles it holds up before us, by the strength and inspiration that it gives us, by the net that it offers us when we are falling and we need to be held. Please, please give now to the life and the work of this beloved community. And thank you for all that you give and all that you do and all that you are. I have one invitation for you, and it's very, very immediate. Our link to the coffee hour, the Zoom coffee hour, immediately after the service has changed, so please make sure to use the link that was sent out by us this past Friday. That's the one we're using. It's not the same as the ones we've been using in past weeks, so make sure you go find that email, use that link, and we will see you very soon in coffee hour. Our benediction is from the writing of the Reverend Bill Sinkford. Help us to hold fast to our vision of what can be. May we see the hope and find the courage and the voice to work for that constant rebirth of freedom and justice. That is our dream. And will you join me, please, in the words for extinguishing our chalice? We carry the flame of peace and love and hope until we meet again.